Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Now, this is a story that's thousands of years old, but you're about to see just how ridiculously relevant it is today. So let's get right into it. So, let me just start by asking you something, straight up. Just take a second and look around you. How do you actually know that what you're seeing, what you believe to be true, is the real deal? What if your entire reality is nothing more than a flickering shadow on a cave wall?
Okay, to even begin to wrap our heads around that, we've got to go back to where Plato started, inside a really dark cave. This is the first level, the basic setup for a reality that has been completely, and I mean completely, manufactured.
I want you to really picture this. You've got these people, and they've been chained up their entire lives, forced to stare at a blank wall. That's it. Now behind them, there's a fire. And walking between the fire and the prisoners are puppeteers, holding up different objects. So all the prisoners ever see, are the shadows those puppets cast on the wall. And for them, these shadows, they're not just, like reality, they are reality. That's the whole show. They're mistaking the effect for the cause, and they have no idea.
And boom! This is where a 2,000-year-old story suddenly feels, well, a little too real, doesn't it? I mean, just think about our own modern-day caves, the perfectly curated lives on social media, the slick narratives in advertising, the powerful stories in movies. They all present a very specific, very edited version of reality, a collection of shadows that are designed to look and feel completely real.
This is exactly why Plato was, let's just say, not a huge fan of artists. His whole argument was that a real-world object, like a tree, is already one step removed from its perfect, ideal form of a tree. So an artist who then paints a picture of that tree, they're making a copy of a copy. It's a shadow of a shadow. In his mind, they were just taking us further and further away from the actual truth.
Okay, so how in the world do you get out of a prison you don't even know you're in? Well, according to Plato, it's not some fun, easy adventure. The very first step is to break those chains and turn away from the wall and face the fire. And this is where the real work and the real pain is going to begin. And this right here, this is absolutely crucial. Real understanding isn't something that can just be handed to you. You have to earn it through what the Greeks called praxis. See, someone can't just hand you the truth on a silver platter. You've got to get your hands dirty, you have to experiment, you have to actively engage with the system to figure it out on your own terms.
So, what does that actually look like for our prisoner? Well, they can't just squint harder at the shadows on the wall. That's not going to work. What they have to do is turn around and start comparing the shadow they've known their whole life to the actual puppet that's casting it. And through that comparison, they start to analyze the whole system. They figure out the physics of it. Fire plus a puppet equals a shadow. And that's the moment they conclude, oh my God, this whole thing is a trick of the light. It's a manufactured reality.
And this is such a great way to see the huge gap between Plato's idea and something modern, like, say, the Matrix. In the Matrix, Neo gets a choice, red pill or blue pill. He takes the red pill, and bam, knowledge is instantly downloaded into his brain. It makes you, the viewer, feel awesome, like you're in on the secret. Plato's path is the complete opposite. It's not a choice. It's a painful, slow, gradual struggle. And all the responsibility to figure things out, it's all on you. There's no easy download.
So once the prisoner finally gets how the cave works, they're dragged out into the world above. But here's the thing, it's not this glorious, angelic aha moment. Their first encounter with the real, actual world is just blinding. It's terrifying.
Yeah, your brain and your eyes just can't handle it all at once. The adjustment to the truth is slow. At first, the prisoner's eyes are so overwhelmed they can only look at reflections in the water, which, let's be honest, probably look a lot like the shadows they're used to. It's a comfort zone. Then, slowly, they can manage to look up at the night sky. Over time, they can finally see real things, not just copies or puppets, but a real bird. And only after all that, after that long, painful adjustment, can they finally dare to look at the source of it all.
And that's sun. Wow. In Plato's world, the sun is pretty much the final boss of truth. It represents what he called the form of the good, the ultimate reality. The prisoner finally understands that the sun is what makes sight possible in the first place. It governs the seasons, it gives life to everything. It's the one thing that makes the whole world make sense.
But the journey isn't over, and this is where the story takes a turn and becomes a real tragedy. Because after seeing the ultimate truth, the prisoner feels this duty, this responsibility, to go back down into the cave and try to free everyone else.
So the enlightened prisoner goes back down. But now their eyes are used to the bright sun, so they can't see a thing in the darkness. They're stumbling around, bumping into things, the prisoner's still chained up. They don't look at him and see some enlightened guru. They see a guy who's totally lost it. They mock him. They say, "See, that journey outside ruined your eyes. You're a fool."
And then Plato drops this bombshell of a line. And if anyone tried to free another and lead him up to the light, let them only catch the offender, and they would put him to death. Just think about that. The prisoners are so comfortable, so invested in their shadows, that they would literally kill anyone who tried to take that away from them. It's a chilling message. You can't force someone to be enlightened. The change has to come from within. And all this brings us right to the heart of the matter, this huge philosophical debate. See, Plato, at his core, is an optimist. He truly believes that if you just see the truth, if you see the sun, that's enough. But is it really?
This is it. This is the ultimate challenge to Plato's whole worldview. And it's this. Just because you know what's good, does that automatically mean you're going to do what's good every single time?
So let's break this down. On one side, you've got the Platonist, the optimist, who says to know the good is to do the good. Any wrongdoing is just a result of ignorance. Simple. But then the cynic, the realist, comes back and says, hold on a second. What about propagandists? What about people who know exactly what the truth is, but they choose to lie anyway for money, for power, for comfort? And really, that's the whole argument in a nutshell. The cynic's critique is that Plato's philosophy has this massive blind spot. It just doesn't fully account for that powerful, very human desire to put yourself first, even when you know it's the wrong thing to do. But hold on, because there's this really clever twist to pure cynicism. Think about it. For a manipulator's lie to even work, they need their audience to believe in some kind of baseline truth. They rely on trust to exploit it. If everybody, absolutely everybody, was a total cynic all the time, society would just grind to a halt. You couldn't even lie effectively. So in a very strange way, the worst manipulators actually depend on the goodness and trust of others to get anything done.
So I guess I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. The cynical view can sometimes feel like we're just Sisyphus, right? Pushing this huge rock up a hill, knowing it's just going to roll back down forever. But maybe that's not the whole picture. Because every time that rock rolls down, we're not starting over from scratch. Our muscles are a little bit stronger, our mind knows the terrain a little bit better, we learn something, even when we fail. So maybe the journey out of the cave isn't about finally reaching some perfect destination. Maybe it's all about the strength we build with every single step we take toward the light.